Begin the current Daf Mesech Yoma Daf. Begin 8 lines down at the top of the Yomah. We will continue explaining the opening halacha of our Mishnah, our Parak, our Masechta. 7 days before Yom Kippurim, we are mafresh the Kohen Gadol, and the Gemara continues to explain that halacha of separating, quarantining the Kohen Gadol 7 days before Yom Kippurim. Rashid Kosmas the Chazak and the Chazak and the Chaim B'Shem was joining us for today's Daf. Something to discuss in today's Daf are not only why the Kohen Gadol needs to be separated, but specifically why does he need to be separated from his wife 7 days before Yom Kippurim. That gets us into a discussion regarding when the immersion in the mikveh has to be done in regards to becoming tamei as a boil nida. The halacha of tumah in general, the Gemara discusses on Amid Beis regarding karbanos tzibur. What's the halachic status? Some of the key terms of concept we discuss in today's daf are nida, that's the menstruating woman who has a tumah for 7 days. A boil nida, interesting is that the man who is intimate with a nida, he also has the same halacha of tumah, of nida, for 7 days. Tful Yain is someone who is tamei but immersed that day, who is in a quasi state of tumah, because on some level he's tar, he's already immersed himself in the mikveh, but he still needs her shemesh, he needs sundown, and therefore he's not completely tar. Zav is when there's a mission that's a discharge from the body, which is both by the male and the female, that is also has the tumah of 7 days. Mitzayra is someone that has some type of skin lesions, who is actually this week's parasha, the tumah that comes with Mitzayra. Tumah Hutra Hibitzibur is machlokes regarding what's the halachic status of tumah as relates to that of a kabban of the tzibur. Is it totally permissible, carte blanche, or don't care if there's tumah at all, or is tumah t'chuyi hibitzibur, we only override it, but the truth is we try to avoid it because it's something that's not really permissible. So begin the current daf, 8 lines down at the top of the Yom Daf Vav. The Mishnah told us that 7 days before Yom Kippur, mafrishin Kohen Gadol b'chulu, we separate the Kohen Gadol 7 days before. So the Gemara says, Lama Mafrishin. Why do we separate the Kohen Gadol 7 days before? So the Gemara jumps in and says, Lama Mafrishin? You're asking why you separate? Didn't you pay attention to the beginning of the Masechta? Kedai Kamrina, like we said already. Either Rabbi Yechon Kedai Islay, if it's Rabbi Yechon, like he holds that he learns it out from the Miluim, either Shlokish Kedai Islay, it's like Shlokish that he learned it out from Sinai, but we already brought the sources why you separate. What's Frekstaz Ashayla? Says the Gemara, Hachikam, no, what we were saying was like this. Mi Beisay Lama Pirish. From his house, meaning from his wife. Why is he separating from his wife? Let the wife come with him. What's this week vacation he's taking from the wife? Take his wife with him. Because obviously when he's going to Lishka's Pahedron, there's no sanctity over there that he can't be intimate over there, because you're not allowed to even sit in that Zara. It's only for the Malchid Bezdabit, for sure, to lay down. So what's the problem? What Taisa says, you would still have a problem about carries, but like go to the tunnels underneath they have these tunnels underneath. There's no problem about the tunnel over there, so carry. So why do you have to separate from your wife for? So I understand that you have to separate, so you have to have the Ema and the Yira or whatever it is from Sinai or Miluim, but why can't he take his wife with him? So Tanya learned the Braisim. Remy says the reason is because Shema Timatze Ishtay Safek Nida. Maybe his wife is going to be a Safek Nida. Not clear if she's menstruating or not. But Yom Vilan is going to have relations with her. If he does that, he's a boil nida. It's going to be tummy for 7 days. So if he's going to be tummy, he's obviously not going to be able to do that avodah on Yom Kippurim. The Kohen Gadol has to be totally tahar. So that's why we can't let him be near his wife, because his wife might be in a situation where he might go ahead and have relations with her as a suffix nida. He's not going to go vali nida suffix. He might, and therefore we have to make sure for the 7 days before he's not around his wife. So the Gemara wants Atibur Shiaskin. What are we talking about? Wicked people? What, he's going to have a relation with a suffix nida? He's not sure. The Rav didn't say is it called nida. Now, what does this mean? What? So the Gemara said no. Rather, what we were saying was like this: Shema Yavel Ishta. And this is interesting, a little bit complex. This what the Gemara is about to say right now. Shema Yavel Ishta. No, a regular woman, his wife. He might have relations with his wife. The Timtza suffix nida. It's going to turn out that she was a doubtful nida. Meaning, technically, really, what the Gemara can answer right now is saying it turns out that she was a nida. She was a regular Torah wife, and in the middle, it turns out that she became a nida. But that's not so common. So therefore, the Gemara just says it might turn out to be that we're not sure if when there was intimacy, if she was a nida or not. What does that mean? What happens is that the sheet that she wiped herself with after relations, you find dam on it. Now, you don't know if the dam was there during the act of bia, or did it come after the act of bia. Now, the halach is, like we said, a boil nida, someone has relation with a nida is tummy for 7 days. Now, we're not sure, is he a boil nida or not, and he's going to have as the suffix that he's forbidden to come to the Beis HaMikdash on Yom Kippurim, because guess what? The week before he took his wife with him, and 3 days before they had bia, and she found afterwards, which we're going to explore right now exactly how long afterwards, but she found, like, we're not sure, was he a boil need or not, and he's going to be asked to come to the base of English. So because of that, she can't be with him the week before. We have to avoid that situation of him being a suffix boil nida. Now the Gemara tells that Amru Rabbana Kamed Rav Chizda. The rabbis, they said in front of Rav Chizda, come on, they asked, who is this like? This halacha of our Mishnah that he has to separate from his wife a week before, not just, again, quarantining, which that we know from Milum and from Sinai. No, specifically his wife cannot come along with him, because we have to avoid this situation of him possibly being a boil nida. Seemingly it's Rabbi Kiva, because the Amma that he says, nida mitama es boila. The nida, the menstruating woman, will make her husband, make the man having relations with her, tummy retroactively, if they had relations in the previous 24 hours, just like they made Xera by Taharis that a suffix nida touched, retroactively in the previous 24 hours. Why? Because the Rabbanan, if you think it'd be like the Rabbanan who disagreed with Rabbi Kiva, Ha'amri, they say, Ein nida matamas baila. The nida, when you find it on her sheet, she does not retroactively contaminate the man who had relations with her in the last 24 hours. Now, this is a machlekes Masechtas nida on Daf Yomi. The Mishnah there teaches that the custom of the Jewish women were that when they have relations, they use 2 cloths, one for him and one for her. If they find dam on his cloth, they are both tamei for 7 days, because most definitely that dam was there at the time of bia, because it's not normal for blood to come out of the man. It's normal for the woman. If he finds it on his cloth, obviously he got it from the woman. Now let's say he finds it on her cloth right away. Meaning, this moment that the male organ left, she went and she wiped and she found dam right away. So then again, here too, they're both definitely tamei, because it was right away. Now, but let's say they find it what's called la'achar zman. What does it mean la'achar zman? She didn't do the bedika right away. Then the halach is that they are tamei from suffix. What does it mean achar zman? What's not right away? It's the amount of time that it takes her for her to get down from the bed and then clean the lower region. That's considered not right away. Not right away is a suffix. Could be happened right after. It wasn't immediately after. It was a few moments. That could have happened afterwards. So then the tamei is suffix. Now, after that, the tamei is going to be retroactively for the previous 24 hours. And then that's not going to make any more the boil tamei. Meaning, if let's say the woman delayed from doing a bedika, and only after that did she do bedika and she found the dam, then she's like all of the women that they're metamelim afreya any taras that they touched in the previous 24 hours, but they're not going to make the boil, the man who had relations with them, tamei retroactively, because they were not glazer tumah of the previous 24 hours regarding the tumah of the boil, only regarding taharis, like food items that she touched. And Rabbi Kiva disagrees. He says no, even the boil is going to become tamei from the previous 24 hours. If he had intimacy with her in the previous 24 hours, and then she did some type of bedika and we find dam, it's like, okay, maybe, just like taharis, we don't know when they came, so we're like, okay, whatever's previous 24 hours is going to be tamei. We don't know. So the boil also, did he have relations in the previous 24 hours? It could have been then too. So we have to treat you as a suffix of boil nida. That's a machlekes Rabbi Kiva and the Rabbanan. So seemingly, this halacha is going like the Rabbi Kiva. Because according to the Rabbanan, they don't hold that if you find her to be a suffix nida, we're going to treat him as a suffix boil nida. And according to Rabbanan, even if the wife's there, again, we're not chayshish that it's going to happen the moment they're having relations. So when's it going to happen? Later on, an hour, 2 hours later, she's going to do a bedika. I'm a nida. Well, you know, we have beer. Well, what's going to go? So according to Kiva, he says, yeah, it was in the previous 24 hours. We're going to treat you as a boil nida. To him, he can't be with his wife for the week before because it possibly the coin's out of commission. Right? According to Rabbanan, we're not chayshish with that. They're not going to treat him as a suffix boil nida. So seemingly, the halacha of Mishnah has to be like Rabbi Kiva, not like Rabbanan. And that Rabbi Chizda says no. I feel like Rabbanan, you could even say the halacha is like Rabbanan. Because ad kan like pliga Rabbanan Rabbi Kiva, where do we find that the Rabbanan disagree with Rabbi Kiva and they hold that we're not going to treat him as a suffix, boil nida out of suffix? Is il ba'achar achar. Only if she delayed more than achar zman of the time of asyam of immediately. Meaning, there's right away, there's not right away, and there's really not right away. So when do they disagree? By achar achar. when it was after the after. Aval bechad acher, but with one after, meaning it's after immediate. Meaning it's the amount of time that it takes for her to get down from the bed and get those bedika clothes and go ahead and do a bedika. Like we said, what's acher zman? It's saying that it's when she comes down from the bed, that's where it's going to be. Tamim Misafik, Maidule, there they agree to Rebbe Kiva, and they don't disagree. They only disagree by after of the Zman. But after the Zman, they agree that we would treat him as a Boil Nida. So again, immediately right after the moment that he leaves, and she finds it, everyone agrees that it's Tamei Vada. Then what we're saying is the next Acher, the Acher Zman, which is the amount of time it takes for her to get down from the bed, those few moments, and then she checks, the Rabbana would agree over there would be Tamei Misafik. It's only the Acher Zman, she waited even more than that, she waited an hour or whatever it is, within the 24-hour frame, that's where they disagree with Kiva and hold that we would not be Chayshish, we would not treat him as a Safek Boil Nida, and Kiva hold yes. But that's why we say that the wife cannot be with him in that week before, because there's still the suffix needed to be concerned for in that period of Acher Zman that the Rabbanah agreed to. Now, the Gemara continues something a little bit more complex also, is that Amr B'Zeira says, Shema Mina. But we can infer from this halacha that we said that we quarantined the Kohen Gadol 7 days before. And what we just explained the reason for this is because we're concerned for Nida, which is that it could be he's going to be intimate with her during that week vacation that they're in the Lishkas Bahedrin, and it turns out she checks herself, whether it be a few moments later, like we said, according to Rabbanan, or a few hours later, according to Rebbe Kiva, but be that as it may, we're concerned that she's going to find herself to be Nida, we're going to treat him as a Boil Nida. The inference is that Boil Nida Indika Nida, that the man who had relations with the Nida is not exactly like the Nida to be forbidden to table in the mikvah until the 7th day, after the 7th day at nighttime, but rather that he tables on the 7th day during the daytime. Now that's why he only has to separate from his wife 7 days. So if he had relations with his wife, who could have been a Suffolk Nida, and that's what we're concerned for on the day that he quarantined, that he left, if you count part of that day, what's called Mitzvim Kukulayim, like a Nida, which we count that day as day 1, so he's going to table on every Yom Kippurim, which is the 7th day by daytime. And then, because you're allowed to table on the 7th day, most of those, as we're going to quote shortly, when you have a tefillah you have to do, you're allowed to do it on the day, let's say the last day of your 7 days. And then you could have sundown, and great, the next morning he comes into Avodah, do the Avodah in the Beis HaMikdash on Yom Kippurim day. Because if you're going to say, that the man has the same halacha like the woman, so Amos Tavel, so this man, when's he going to table if he had relations with the Nida on the day that he left? Balelia, on the night of Yom Kippurim, after the 7 days. You count day 1. If day 7 is every Yom Kippurim, well, you can't. A Nida can't table during the 7th day. She has to wait for nightfall after. Only then could she table. So then, how is the Kohen Gadol if he tabled Yom Kippur by night? How is he doing Avodah the next morning? He needs sundown. You didn't have sundown. You tabled only at nighttime. After the tefillah, you have to have sundown. Rather, we could infer from this that Boil Nida and Nida. Obviously, the man having a relation with the woman is not the same exact thing. He's different in the regards to when he could table. He could table during the daytime of the 7th day, unlike the Nida who has a table after the day of the 7th day, only at nighttime. So the Gemara rejects the proof and says, Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg says, you could even say that Boil Nida is Kenida. That the halacha is that he can only table at nighttime. So then the question was, if he's going to table at nighttime, so you're going to have 7 days before he's going to have to table Yom Kippur by night. So no, we separate him. I mean, day 1 is not what you thought it was. We separate him a moment before sundown of the beginning of the 7 days. So essentially, really, it's 8 days before Yom Kippur, because day 1 wasn't just like Sunday in the morning, like that's day 1. No, a moment before Sunday, let's say Shabbos in the afternoon, or whatever it is, a moment before Shkia of day 1, they separate him. So that becomes now the Miktas Yom Kukula. Even if you had relations that moment, But that would be the mixed Yom Kula, and then you can have a full 7 days beforehand, which is really 8 days. So why are we calling it 7 days? So the Rashi explains, because that little amount it's not considered significant. But when's he going to go to the mikvah? Yeah, at nighttime, like the Nidar herself. But it's going to be the night before Erev Yom. It's going to be the night of Erev Yom Kippurim, not the night of Yom Kippurim. And then the next day, on Erev Yom Kippurim, he'll have sundown going into Yom HaKippurim. And therefore, it's not a raya that Baal Nida is Eina Kanida. Maybe it is Kanida, and they can only table at nighttime. But again, he's going to be tabling not the night of Yom Kippurim, but the night before Yom Kippurim, because day 7 this is the day before day 1. You're having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, I didn't count well. But point is that instead of 7 days, you're going to have 8 days, because day 1 is really the day before day 1, because it's a few moments beforehand, and therefore it's not a ride. But the Gemara says, Meisveh. The Gemara asks from the following brisa. The brisa says, Kol chiyavei tfilis, all those that are obligated in immersion, tfilas mayam, all types of people that are tamei that need a table, they table during the daytime, as the Gemara Megillah Daf Chaf Malaf learns out from a pasuk in Bamidbar, mevachitoi b'yom hashvi v'rachas b'mayim. Those who are tamei for 7 days, they table during the 7th day, they have sundown and then become tar afterwards. There's only 2 exceptions: nida v'yeledis, a menstruating woman, and the woman gave birth. Filas and Balayla, they immerse at nighttime, because by Nida it says in the Yukar Tezvav that for Shibas Yom it says 7 days Tia Benidasa, she's in her state of Nida, which is she has to be in her Nida state all 7 days. It means that you can't be tabling during the 7th day, you're in Nida until the 7 days are over. And by Yeledis it says Kimei Nidas device or tit, it compares the Yeledis to Nida, just like Nida is tables at night, and so too is the Yeledis. So the question is, it sounds like from the Brisa that Nida, only the Nida, but Goyim Nida lie, but him not, or else I should have mentioned him too. Says the Gemara, no, it's not a raya. When it says Nida, it means V'chol da asim mirabuya, whatever is included in the category of Nida. Where did he get his tummy the Baal Nida? From the Nida, and therefore it's not a raya that we didn't mention him. Yeah, it could be he also has to table at night time. But the Gemara continues asking Meser from the Mishnah Masechet Zavim. The Mishnah says that Balkari, a man who had a seminal emission, is kamagish sheretz, is like someone who touched the dead sheretz, which is the one who touched dead sheretz. He tables himself in the mikveh, and the day that he became tummy, as the Gemara says in Pesachim of Samazayin Mabeis, we're saying that the Balkari is like the one who touched the dead sheretz. Boil nida, man who had relation with a nida, is kitamei mes, is like someone who touched a dead person, which is he tables on the 7th day. Says the Gemara, my love tefillah, isn't it comparing the boil nida to the tmei mes regarding the laws of tefillah, which by a tmei mes on the 7th day he tables during the daytime, he doesn't have to wait for nighttime. So therefore you see that the boil nida is lav kanida, that the tefillah is during the daytime. Says the Gemara, it's not a raya, l'tumasan. When we're comparing the 2 items of Balkari and boil nida is regarding their tumah, not regarding their tahara. Balkari is like someone who touched a dead sheretz, which is tummy only for the evening, and he's only a rishon l'tumah. The boil nida is tummy for 7 days, and he's an avatama, like someone who touched a dead person. That's an avatama, so it's not a raya. The Gemara said, how can you say that's the interpretation? But tumas and behedik bahu, both of them already, we know they're tumas already. Why would I need to compare it? Like, I'm telling you a chiddush over here. Boil nida is like tmei mes. Hi tumas shivik simbei. By the boil nida, we already say in the Torah, but he dasa Allah b'tamei shivik. The Torah tells us explicitly that he has the tumah of nida. And the Tamei Mes, the Torah also tells us explicitly that he's Tamei for 7 days. So as a continue with Beis, I love us. And rather, if you're telling me a comparison, you must be telling me a chiddush in regarding that tefillah, the Tamei, the Baal Nida, the Tamei during the daytime. Because regarding the Tumah, I already know that's in the Torah. It says no, the Mishnah is really teaching you that they're comparable regarding the Tumah. But then the question is, why do I need you to tell it? It's not for that halacha. It's sefer, it's sufle. The sefer, which also continues on their laws of Tumah, is what the necessity of the Mishnah was coming to tell us. Because the Mishnah tells us that although they're similar, but it's that actually a man who had relation with a nida is more severe of a type of a Tumah than that of Tamei Mes, which Taisa points out Tamei Mes has some stringency over Baal Nida too, but it's Tamei tells us the stringency. Shemetama Mishka b'Meisha. What's interesting is that a Baal Nida, man who had relation with a nida, that if he's laying on a pile of mattresses, even 10, one on top of the other, he's going to be mitame all of them. Because it's not about touching it, it's the fact that he's laying on it, that he's sitting on it. That's what the laws of Mishkan B'Meishav are. So all the 10 mattresses are all going to be tamei. In contrast to Tamei Mes, someone who touched a dead person, he only contaminates what he touches. So that's the stringency that Baal Nida has over Tamei Mes. There's going to be Tamei Mishkan B'Meishav. Now, not a full-fledged mishka b'meishon, but tuma kala, in a lesser type of tuma, which is a tame oichel mashkin, which to contaminate food items and beverages. Meaning, it's not going to contaminate what's called odom and kalim, people and vessels, like other mishka b'meishon. When the regular zav, zava, nida, mitzayra, which traces harps on the fact that Rashi is mitzayra, but their tuma is an avatama. So a regular a nida, let's say for example, when she lays on the bed, she actually makes that into meaning a rishon, meaning as an avatama, making adam mekalim. The contrary to bel nida, Rashi says the proof is because in Vayikra it says kol hamishka b'shishach of yidma. Any bed that the bel nida sits on is going to become tamei. Now from there the Torah is uprooting him from the stringent tuma of mishka, like the nida has herself, to contaminate a person to make it lesser. Because by the nida it already says mishkava is going to be tamei. So why are you saying another pasuk? Must be to tell you that no, he only has a lesser type of a mishka b'meishon that only contaminates food and the beverages. Because it was a severe type of tumah, so then the pasuk shouldn't have said anything. I would know that his mishka is going to be tamei like a mishka nida, because it said he has the same status as a nida. Why are you saying a special pasuk to say his mishka b'meishon? I was telling you that it's not the same mishka b'meishon as it has by the nida herself. Rather, it's one step lower, but it's still a stringency that the bel nida has over tamei mes, and that's why we're talking about the laws of tumah. So you're right. I don't need you to really tell me that bel nida has a halacha like tamei mes regarding being tamei 7 days, because that the Torah already tells us. But it's for the sefer that tells me, but they are different, that bel nida has a certain stringency over tamei mes. But again, it's not a raya regarding the tefillah. We thought to being a raya that says the bel nida is like tamei mes. Oh, what tamei mes tells during the daytime, bel nida tells during the daytime. No. Maybe bel nida tells at nighttime. So what are you saying? Oh, just compare regarding the laws of tumah, not regarding the laws of tefillah. You must have touched about the Gemara. He brings a definitive proof from the Tani Reb Chia. Chia taught a brisa. Hazav, Vazava, the male and the female, they have this discharge from the genital area, Vamitzayra, like we have in this week's parasha. He has some skin lesions, Vamitzaras, or the female version. Uboil Nida, and the men had a relation with a Nida, Vitzmei Mes, and the one person came to him, a dead person. Tefillah son by Yoim. Clearly says Reb Chia that the tefillah is during the daytime, which is not like that of Nida, because Nida, B'Yeledes, Tefillah son b'layla, to Yifta, that refutes. Obviously, it's not like the Rabbi Shloimy who wanted to say that it could be like the Nida. No, it's obviously not like the Nida. Bel Nida is lav Nida. Nida's tail is at nighttime. Bel Nida tail is during the daytime. But now the Gemara goes back to the primary question we were discussing. Okay, so you told me that you're separating the man from his wife for 7 days beforehand because it might come out to be a concern. You might end up with a problem of Bel Nida. She might end up being a Nida. So it says the Gemara, until you're going to go ahead and be busy trying to separate him from the tumah of his wife. But you can let every single person come in and visit him. Separate him from the tumah of a dead person, meaning, how could you let anyone come and visit him? Maybe someone's going to die. Just like you could turn his wife might suddenly become a nida, and when they're intimate, and it's going to turn out to be tummy because it's within 7 days before and he's a bal nida. Then how do you let people visit him? Someone might pass away and he's going to become tamas mes, which also tummy for 7 days. So Rav Tachlifa Abud Rav Huna Mishmei Rava says this tells us that tamas mes, obviously, even if there were to be that the Kohen Gadol would come tummy from a dead person who is everyone's coming to visit the Kohen Gadol, who is vacationing here, even if somebody dies, that hutrahi b'tzibur, the halacha of tumah from a dead person is totally permissible regarding an avodah that's done for the tzibur. As we know by Korban Pesach, it says ish. If someone was tamei by Pesach Rishon, he gets rejected and gets pushed off to Pesach Sheni. But a tzibur doesn't get pushed off; they can do it in the state of tumah. Now Yom Kippurim, all of it is a karbanas tzibur, because even Aaron's own, even the Kohen Gadol's own karban, it overrides tumah because it has a set time, and the karban tzibur is dependent on the power of the Kohen Gadol. So therefore, it's all considered karbanas tzibur, and therefore it's hutra. So we don't care if someone dies. That's why it's not concerned. Tumah of the nida, if he's a bal nida, that's not rejected. It's only tumah that's not lav yitzel lav megufay. But if it's something that's from a mess, that's hutra b'tzibur. That's one approach. Avinami says a different answer. He says, no, I felt maybe even want to say tumah sameis techuyi b'tzibur, which we're going to illustrate right now as a machlekes. Even if you say no, the korban tzibur, although we allow it to override tumah, but it's with difficulty that we permit it. It's not a carte blanche type of permissibility. However you could do to avoid becoming tamei even for korban tzibur, we do. So then the question is, so wait a second, so why do we let people visit him? We don't want to have the situation of tumah dechuyi b'tzibur. Says the Yoma, but tumas hames l'shchicha. The tumah from a dead person is not common. That somebody should just suddenly have a heart attack and cardiac arrest and die right there in front of the Kohen Gadol. Tumas beis shchicha. The tumah of a wife happens once a month. Definitely is more common than that of someone dying, and that's why we were concerned that he has to separate from his wife. But he doesn't have to separate from everyone else. Come visit him, but the wife, she's off limits. She's not coming with him on that week, but people can come and visit him. Now the Gemara says, Idma, we learned that this is actually a machlokes. It tumas hametz. Tumah from a dead person, Rav Nachman says, Hutrahi b'tzibur. The kohen, even though he became tummy from a dead person, it's permissible regarding the carbon for the tzibur. Rabbi Shloimy says, no, dechuyi b'tzibur. It's only overridden, it's only rejected, but it's not something that is really initially permitted. So the Gemara qualifies and explains, when is this machlekes set? They would have mishmairis, which every 24 weeks, it would be a weekly cycle of a mishmar. And every day there was a base av, there was a family. So on that says the Gemara, if there's Tamei and Torah Kahanim in that family that's doing the avodah that day, so no one's going to disagree that Tahir and Abdi, that the Torah Kahanim, they're going to do the avodah of the carbon Tamei from that day, even though it's a carbon tzibur. To me, like Abdi, you're not going to do people that are Tamei doing it, even if you're Tumah Hutri b'tzibur. If you have a kohen that's Torah right here, you're not going to do it with the kohen that's Tamei. When did they disagree? They have to call tomorrow's shift, the other family, they have to get from a different base off. He says, no, it's permissible in the tzibur. Today's Kahan, there's no one that's Torah. Don't try to get from some other day. You don't have to go to the neighbors to go ahead and get their Torah Kahan. Rabbi Shloimy says, no, it's only overridden. My dream, you do. If you can get a Torah Kahan, you're not allowed to go ahead and do it in the Tamei Kohen. That's one version. Now, Ikadami, that those who say that actually, no, even in the same family, that day, you have Kohanim that are trying some kind of Tamei. Rav Nachman still disagrees, and he says, Avdi Namid Tamein, that even if Tamein could do it. Why? It's contained of Zayin with Aleph. The Chol Tumas Meis B'Tzibah, because any Tumah of a dead person by the Tzibah, Rachmana, Shariah, the Torah permits it, and therefore, like the Pasuk says in Mamidbar, Ishkiya Tamel Nefesh, like we said, if a person's tummy from a dead person, he has to do Pesach Sheni, which we learned Masechet Pesachim, that an individual gets pushed off the Pesach Sheni, but the tzibur doesn't get pushed off. So therefore, when it comes to a carbon tzibur, the kohen could go ahead and do it in the state of Tumah, Kol HaKavod, even if there's a kohen that's tar. In contrast, Zavin, Mitziron, Nidus, and Yoldis, which the Tumah comes from their body, that we never had to not by carbon Pesach, and not by any carbon tzibur. Boil Nida has halacha like a Nida, and that's why he has to separate from his wife 7 days before. Because even if you're going to say Thomas Mes, Hutrahi b'tzibur, but still that's only for something like Thomas Mes. But for the Tumah of his wife, which is Boil Nida, just like Nida is not Hutrahi b'tzibur, that was not permitted by the carbon of the Pesach and the carbon tzibur, so that he would not be permissible to do that Vaida, even if you would say Tumah Hutrahi b'tzibur. In terms of discussing today's Daf Yomi Daf, we said that not only you have to separate the Kohen Gadol from to quarantine him, it has to be mi beisai. Why do you have to separate from his wife? Why can't she come on this vacation to Lishkas Bahedrin? It's because maybe he's going to have relations with his wife, and it's going to turn out that she's a suffix nida, meaning we don't know when this happened. It was within the last 24 hours, which we have machlit to given the chachamim regarding acher of acher, which is, it's not only not right away, it's after that after period. But the chacham agree by the first acher. One, if it's not immediate, but it's the amount of time it takes her to get down to them the bed, that then they agree that it would be metamel for every suffix. So therefore, our halacha, my Mishnah, could even be like the Rabbanan. It doesn't have to be within the last 24 hours like Rabbi Kiva gives such a large window of suffix to make it metamel nida. But it might have been a few moments afterwards, which that is possible to happen, and should be a tamei nida as a suffix. And he'd also have the halacha of boil nida misafik, and therefore, according to everyone, you could say the halacha of our Mishnah is applicable of that you have to separate it. Now, the one thing we said that Shemamina, what we see from our halacha, is that boil nida is not like a nida, which is because he travels during the daytime. Because if you would think to say that he's like the nida who only travels at the nighttime, then the problem is you don't have Harav Shemesh, because you're counting day one as day one of nida, because of nida you start counting, even if she was a nida and they had relations, that's day one. Problem is, if you're saying day 7, he could only travel after day 7, which is Yom Kippurim by nighttime, so he's not going to have Harav Shemesh until Matzah Yom Kippurim. So obviously, he's not like the need itself, and he travels during the daytime. So in the daytime of the 7th day is when he travels, and Yom Kippur by night, he's going to have his Harav Shemesh. Says Gemara, no. Really, he's like a nida that he only can travel at nighttime. but we separate them one moment before Shkia of day 1. So it turns out that really that was day 1. And therefore, day 7 is really Erev Yom Kippur, meaning the day before Erev Yom Kippur is the last day, is day 7. And the table is after day 7, which is the night before Erev Yom, meaning the night of Erev Yom Kippur, not the night of Yom Kippur. Because again, we had 7 days, which really the 7 days, day 1 is really day 2, because a moment before day 1, we separate them. So even no matter when you had intimacy, even like just a moment before, that's day 1. So therefore the next 6 days is really 7, and what we had been considering up until now, day 7, which was Yom Kippur, is really day 8. So he's going to table the night of Erev Yom Kippur, and he'll have his Erev Shemesh on the night of Yom Kippur. But we have when it says Nida, that only Har we say tables on the nighttime. But I know it doesn't mean just Nida. It needs that price that says Nida means, and whatever's included, which includes also the Boil Nida. And that's going to have the halach of Tfilas and Balayla. But then what do you do with a Mishnah Sat Zavim that said that Boil Nida is like Tamei Mes? So you see that when does the Tamei Mes table? During the day of the 7th day. So you see the Boil Nida is Lav Kanida. So it says no, it's not for Tefillah. It's rather telling you for their Tumah. That just like a Tamei Mes is Tamei 7 days, so it is a Boil Nida. Now, but why do I need to tell you that? The Torah already tells me that Boil Nida is Tamei. Fatihini Dasa Love that is Tamei for 7 days like a Nida. And Tamei Mes also says in the Torah, what are you comparing the Tumas? You're right, but it's for the Sefer that we have to tell it to you. We wanted to tell you that on some level that this halacha Boil Nida is more severe than Tamei Mes. Because Boil Nida is not just Matame what he touches, he's Matame all the beddings that he sits on, not a regular that of a Chumra Digah like a Nida herself. It is a little bit more kala, that is only Matame Oichel Mashkin, not Odom Mekalim, but he's going to have a severity of Tumah more than that of Tamei Mes. That's what we're comparing it to show you, but that it does have a stringency over there, but it wasn't comparing it for its Tefillah. Because it could be its Tefillah is only at nighttime. But the Gemara, however, does conclude clearly from Bryce from Bechia that Boil Nida, the Tefillah is not at nighttime, it is by daytime, and therefore we're saying Boil Nida is Lav Kanida. A Nida table is at nighttime, Boil Nida is tables during the daytime. So, and again, therefore, it's not a difficulty. What we're saying the 7 days before, it is like the Dik that we said. He's not Sha'ach as Koidim, it is actually day 1 and day 7. He's going to table and he's going to have Shemesh by nighttime. Now, what's the pshat that we didn't separate the Kohen Gadol from the Pam Tumas Mes? We let everyone come and visit him, the Kohen Gadol, the Rebbe's do, and everyone comes visiting Kvitlich and the Kohen Gadol, everyone's coming in, someone might die, you're so concerned that he's going to be a Boil Nida, why aren't you concerned he's going to be Tamei Mes for 7 days, which he's not going to do that Vaida? Either because there's Hutra. Even if it becomes Tamei Mes, he's doing the Karban Sibur, it's all Karban Siman Yom Kippurim, and therefore he's allowed to be Tamei. Or, no, you're right, Tumah is really Dechuya, but Tumas Mes is not Shchif, not so common. Somebody's going to pass away right there when he's visiting the Kohen Gadol, which we said, it's a machlekes, and that's why these two truths are dependent on, if Tumah B'tzibur is Dechuya or Hutra. Now, in that machlekes, we had a machlekes, if they disagree, specifically that when it's another family, but that day's family, if you have a kohen that's tar and a kohen that's tamei, everyone's agree, even though Tumah Hutra B'tzibur, you can use the kohen that's tar. The question was only, do you have to go to the next day's tomorrow's family to say, hey, we need to draft some tar and kohen according to Mandam Techuya versus Mandam Hutra? Or no, even in that same family, that the Rav Nachman who holds that Tumah Hutra B'tzibur, we don't care. The guy right there could be Qatar. You come a kohen that's tamei could do it because again the Hutra B'tzibur, again in contrast to a Boil Nida, like a Nida herself, which the Tumah is Yitzil of Megufai. Then we never said any Hutra B'tzibur. It's only Mes where you contracted the Tumah from an external source. That's where we say that's going to be Hutra B'tzibur. And again, that's what our two terutzim in the Gemara is going to be dependent on regarding why we're saying we're letting people visit him, either because it's not common, and that's according to Mandam Techuya, or even if it is common. But again, Tumah Hutra B'tzibur. Thank you for that time. Hosting Reb Chaim Mekadosh Amar Rozek Bezbog Lasagis. Reb Biki Chevron Shevon Shema. Then you come to Man Tzidkei. Yag the Torah Yad.